Okay, I guess I should probably film this video now. It's time for my mid-month wrap-up for May, because I decided not to do weekly wrap-ups this month, so we're doing bi-weekly. This was a terrible idea, by the way, when I looked at the pile of books, or when I saw how big the pile of books was and realized I had to talk about them. The first book that I finished was Insurgent by Veronica Roth. Here's a picture because I don't have the book anymore. Insurgent by Veronica Roth. The sequel to Divergent and is... What follows and is? When I was watching a lot of people review this book, a lot of people didn't like it as much as Divergent, but I actually did. I think there were, I could see why people wouldn't like it as much. Basically, I would recommend Insurgent as well as Divergent, and like everyone else, I have to wait for Allegiant to come out. Yeah, basically, I liked Insurgent. This is a terrible wrap-up. This is not a review, it's a wrap-up, remember that. Pandemonium by Lauren Oliver. This is the second book in the Delirium series, and I had a hard time. I liked this book more than Delirium. I should start by saying that. I liked it more than Delirium. It was also shorter than Delirium. The chapters were broken up into now and then. The then chapters immediately after the end of Delirium, where the now chapters take place 6 months after that. And it starts in the now and then it goes to then, and like the problem I had is that in the beginning I really liked the now chapters, but the then chapters were really boring. But then both the now chapter and the then chapter were really good and I enjoyed them. Except for the fact that I would get into one story and then it would either jump into the past with then or go back to now. So I couldn't really get into either story because they kept cutting off at the most annoying times. I feel like when you do something like that, you can't have a cliffhanger after every chapter because it prevents the reader from being able to be like, 4 or 5 times I'm like, well, I'm not continuing this, and just close the book because like it was frustrating that I wish either all the now chapters were together and then the then chapters, or the then chapters first I mean, and then the now chapters. I wish it like ran chronologically, or that the book didn't end every chapter on a cliffhanger because it got annoying, and I know it's supposed to like, it probably was designed that way to like represent the title of Pandemonium. You just can't get a grip on things, but to a certain extent you have to take into account the reader's ability to engage in the story, and I liked it. I will be picking up Requiem as soon as it's not checked out from my library. Pandemonium by Chris Wooding and Cassandra Diaz. Basically, this is a retelling of The Prince and the Pauper set in a Darkling universe, so basically everyone has bat wings. Basically the main character, whose name is Seifer Toonchewer, ends up getting kidnapped because he looks just like Prince Talon Pandemonium, who happens to be missing, and he's been missing for a month, and Prince Talon just happens to be in charge of the army. And that's very bad when your military force is without a leader. So basically, he gets clubbed over the head, kidnapped, told he will be the prince, or he will be fed to giant monsters of... basically just giant pit monsters. This left itself open for there to be more stories. I don't know if there's going to be, but it was a really fun read and I really enjoyed it, and it's short because it was a comic book. So 2 books off my TBR have been completed, and that is Matilda by Roald Dahl. I loved the movie as a child, and in fact we watched the movie so much in my house that my parents actually banned it because of reasons. I don't know why my parents banned it. I enjoyed this book. It's obviously a children's book. I enjoyed it. The problem is I could have sworn because the movie is such an integral part of my childhood, the book was held to the standard of the movie rather than the movie being held to the standard of the book. Like now, if I watched a movie and I read a book, like the Percy Jackson books, I can appreciate both for their differences and being targeted to different audiences, just because I'm older and I have that ability now. But because this was such a part of my childhood, the movie has been solidified as like the main medium for which I want the story to be told. So I hold the book as being flawed as opposed to the movie, even though the book is significantly older. I could have sworn in the movie Matilda got her powers a lot earlier. She didn't get her abilities till over halfway through the book. And the entire scene where Matilda breaks into the house to find the will and stuff doesn't happen. Like, none of that happens. Basically, the scene where she takes the chalk and writes on the board, that is the climax of this book. There was such, like, half of the movie wasn't in this book. I found myself disappointed in the book. I still liked it and everything, but I think I'm going to have to say the movie was better. But I would say that if you do like Roald Dahl's work, this is really good and equal to his other works. Alright, that was my mid-month wrap-up. Thinking probably in June I'll go back to my weekly reviews because I can say more about the books and they're actually probably more thought out than this. And now I'm going to take off this makeup because I feel like a China doll and this makeup kind of stinks.